What is going on, guys, and welcome to your split testing training. Split testing is simply the surest path to finding winning ads. So let's jump into our intention. So there are 4 things we're going to cover in this session. The first one is to understand what split testing is and why it's a key component to success in marketing. 2 is to understand the core principles of split testing. 3 is to understand the 2 basic forms of split testing. And 4 is to explore advanced split testing, which is a separate video to this. Okay, so what is split testing? So split testing is simply taking all of the ideas you have for your audiences and creatives and setting up a multitude of ads that compete in a methodical and well-structured way to find a winning ad setup. Simply, you take all your ideas, you throw them in a single campaign and see which comes out on top. And why is it so important? It's really simple. Would you rather spend 8 weeks running individual ads for a week at a time in order to find the one that has the best stats and then risk losing the results when relaunching the winner? Or would you prefer to spend 1 to 2 weeks pitting all of the variables against each other with an optimized budget and well-structured framework? It all comes down to time. And more importantly, fast tracking your progress towards high converting ads that produce results. I'd much rather spend just 1 to 2 weeks, finding a winning ad out of all of the ideas I have than 8 weeks testing individual ones to risk when relaunching the winning campaign, the campaign with the best stats, risk not getting the same stats again. You lose all the momentum that the algorithm's built up in that learning process by switching them off and testing something new. So doing it all in one go in a shorter time frame ensures that extra 6 to 7 weeks extra that you've just skipped out on, you have that time now to just farm results. So now the boring theory stuff is out the way, let's get on with the fun, actionable stuff. So let's have a quick review. We've done number 1 now. We know what split testing is and we know why it's important to success. So what about split testing core principles? So the first one is the rule of 1. So you never want to test more than 1 ad element at one time. So you're either going to be doing a copy test, a headline test, a visual test, or an audience test. And the only exception to this rule is if you're doing advanced levels of split testing. And that will be covered in the advanced all-in-one kind of split testing training that Chris Brown has provided. So next is to optimize your budget. You want to apply your daily budget on average to each variable of the split test. So if you're testing 3 audiences, you want 3 times budget. If you're testing 5 visuals, you want 5 times budget. But this can be flexible up to a percentage of 60% of your average daily budget. So if your daily budget on average is £5 per day, but you're testing 3 audiences, you can reduce that to £3 per day, but have it 3 times. So instead of £5, you're spending £9 per day for that audience test, or £15 per day for that visual test, as in the examples on screen. So you can use a minimum of 60% of your daily budget to achieve optimal results with split testing, but the recommendation is to just run your average daily budget per test that you're doing. So 3 ad sets equals 3 times your budget, 5 visuals equals 5 times your budget. Okay, so that's pretty much the core principles done. There's not many core principles to split testing. It's a very basic practice that just gets great results. So now let's move on to number 3. So number 3 is to understand the 2 basic forms of split testing. And the first one of those is audience testing. And the way you structure an audience test is like this. So you have 1 campaign, and inside that campaign you have 2 ad sets. Your audience 1 in the 1 ad set, your audience 2 in the other, and you also then set up a creative in each. I'll show you how to do this within Business Manager shortly, but this is the visual setup of it. So it's 1 campaign with 2 ads and then the same ad within each of those. And then for a creative split test, so you're testing now your visuals or your copy or your headlines, it's just you switch that double over. So you have 1 campaign with 1 ad set with 2 separate ads inside, or as many ads as you want. And the same with the previous one. You can have as many audiences you're testing as you want, but you need to remember, optimize your budget for how many tests you're doing. So in this scenario, you would be running a budget of £10 per day if your average budget was £5, and in this one you'd be running £10 as well because you're running 2 times the amount of ads. Okay guys, so now we know how our split testing structure works. Let's implement it. Let's jump into Ads Manager and actually have a look at how we implement this in the real world. So we'll start with audience test first because that was the first one that we covered. So what we're going to do is I've just set up this kind of basic campaign here, structured out as it typically would. So we've got our audience test campaign with our travel audience inside, and then we've got creative 1. So for the sake of this video, I'm not actually going to create the creative. I'm just going to show you the theory behind creating an audience test. Obviously for you, when you're doing this, you would come in and you would set all this up. You know, you'd add your image, your text, your headline, etc., and your website. And then we'd come back here. So we've got this one here. I've set it to a travel-based audience for now. So what we want to do is, because we've got our creative setup, we've got creative 1 there. What we want to do now is we want to just come in here, click quickly duplicate. That's going to create a travel audience copy. So we want to rename this now to the audience that we want it to go to. So instead of travel, I'm going to put this one to entrepreneur. And then we can come down now and actually change our audience from travel to entrepreneur for this one. And then the last thing we want to do now, just before we send this live, is come back to audience. Come back to our campaign, scroll down a little bit and turn campaign budget optimization on, and then just 2 times your budget. So if your budget is typically £5, we want this to be 10, and then all we do is now that is set. So what that's going to do is going to allow Facebook and the algorithm to choose which of these audiences based on stats is doing the best and most favorably with the creative you've made. So then it will optimize more budget towards that one. So you will see probably, you know, an 80-20 split in where the budget is spent. Sometimes it can go back and forth on different days, but it's going to enable Facebook to more quickly go, okay, entrepreneur is working better, let's focus the budget there, it's going to drive more results for this person. So it's allowing Facebook to take some control of the split test and optimize more greatly for results for you. So it's massively beneficial to have this turned on if you're doing an audience based split test. If you didn't want Facebook to take control in the split test and optimize on your behalf over these audiences by whichever one the algorithm feels is performing the best, what you can do is you can actually turn campaign budget optimization off and come into each of your ad sets and set your daily budget per ad set here. So you want to make sure that each is spending exactly the same. So if your budget for this is, you know, let's say £5 per day per ad set, then you want to come in here and set your £5 per day in this box, and then again in this second audience in this box. And then you're, depending on which method you've chosen, whether you've gone campaign budget optimization at the campaign level and allow Facebook's algorithm to optimize on your behalf, or whether you've gone manual and you've set the budget manually in each ad set, your ad set for, no, your campaign, sorry, for testing your audience is 100% set up, and we can go ahead and click the publish button. So I'm going to jump out of this now quickly and into setting up a creative test. So let me just select this one and jump into the edit. So to set up a creative test, I've done the exact same setup here, guys. We've got the travel audience and then the creative. So we don't need campaign budget optimization at all on this one, because campaign budget optimization optimizes based on the ad set. It doesn't optimize based on the creative test. So what we want to do now is you want to set your 2 times 3 times whatever budget here. So say you were going to run you were running £5 per day, you were running 4 different ads to test, 4 different visuals, then you would put in here 20 or 60% of that. So let's jump in now to here. So we've got this ad set, it's all set up, our audience is set up perfectly for us. So all we want to do now that we've set up our first ad is just go quickly duplicate. So then we've got copy 1, so we can rename this to creative 2. And then all we would do is just scroll down and change the single part of the creative that we are testing. So if it's the image, we would change the image. If it's a video, we would change the video. If it's the primary text, the copy, we would change the copy. If it's the headline, we change the headline. If it's the link, we would change the link. If it's the button, we would change the button. So you would choose one thing in here to test at a time, and you would change that, and then once you've changed it, you can duplicate it again for however many tests you're running. And that, guys, is how you set up your creative tests. So it's very simple, both of them. A couple extra steps in the audience based on whether you want the algorithm to do the optimizing or whether you want to do it personally, but overall that is how you do it. So closing notes actually on the audience test one, the one benefit of campaign budget optimization, because you're applying a larger budget to the overall campaign and allowing Facebook to optimize on your behalf, when it comes to you switching off whichever of these two ad sets isn't performing the best, what Facebook will do then is apply all of that extra budget. So say you were doing £5 per day on average per ad set, so you're running £15 per day for these three. What it would do then is apply that £15 budget and instantly scale your current ad set. So whichever one is the winner, it's going to scale for you and then drive extra results for that reason as well. So that's an extra bonus for using campaign budget optimization if you want to kind of give the algorithm that Facebook has spent billions on to optimize your ads on your behalf. So let's jump now back into our presentation and move on to the next section of this training. Okay, so again, jump back into quick review. We're now literally just going to jump into number 4. It's going to be super quick. And the advanced split testing training, this session is literally just an introduction into the two forms of basic split testing. To learn more advanced all-in-one strategies, visit the social media marketing module and look for the advanced social media marketing tab within the School of Marketing, and that will sort you out perfectly with the kind of all-in-one method. And like, just as a forward from me, like all in one, it just saves you so much time, but it also, you have to scale your budget significantly. So whereas with this strategy you're just doing 2 or 3 times or 4 times your budget depending on the amount of variables you're doing, you're gonna see exponential growth in the budget you apply to an all-in-one split test via the advanced split testing, because you're going to be running like 4 audiences with 4 different ads at the same time. So you're going to be running, you know, possibly 4 times your budget 4 times. So if your budget is £10 per day, then you're going to be running £40 times by 4. So £160 per day, because you're testing all of your audiences, all of your creatives in one campaign. And it's, you know, it's massively effective, but you need to budget for that. So when you're going into that, don't feel overwhelmed. Like, this is just a foreword, not a warning. This is a foreword as to what to expect when you approach the all-in-one split testing strategy that Chris will teach you in that session. Like, it is more expensive, but what's more valuable to you? Finding a winner in a short space of time and getting all of that testing done ASAP, or, you know, saving your budget and spreading it over the course of, you know, weeks and months if that is how you're running your business. So it's really kind of a budgeting question whether you step into advanced split testing or not. It's not scary. It's just, you know, it's just taking a month's worth of budget, a month's worth of testing of running singular campaigns and compressing it into a week or 2. So, you know, that's just a kind of a little bit of insight, I suppose, into advanced split testing before you jump into that video. But jump into the video, explore it in full, see how you feel about it. You might want to just stick with basic split testing for now if you're at the start of your journey, and then step into more advanced split testing once you've progressed through your business a little bit, made a few sales, and have a bit of extra income sat there to invest into your marketing efforts. And that, guys, is the last point of this training intentions list ticked off. And for that reason, your split testing training is now done. You now know the 2 basic forms of split testing, why it's so powerful, what split testing is, and how to step into that next level of split testing, the all-in-one method, which Chris will teach you in the advanced split testing training. I hope you've enjoyed the session, and I'll see you somewhere else in the platform.